Over a decade, the CFPB has stood up for everyday Americans and fought back against abusive and unlawful practices by large businesses, including some of the banks in this room. Mr. Diamond, how much money has J.P. Morgan Chase returned to customers in the form of redresses and payments at the direction of CFPB?
I don't know the number.
Let me help you. $360 million. Mr. Moynihan, same question.
I don't know the number specifically.
$819 million. Ms. Fraser?
I don't know the number either, Senator.
$1 billion. Mr. Scharf?
I don't know the number, Senator.
Well, it's over $2 billion. So from just the four of you, that's over $4 billion. It's amazing you don't know the number because they're not small in nature. Over $4 billion returned to hardworking consumers in the past dozen years. And yet this critical agency is under constant attack by my Republican colleagues. A lawsuit before the Supreme Court is threatening its very existence. And time again, we've seen why the CFPB is so necessary and why I intend to continue to fight for it. Otherwise, that would have been $4 billion out of the pockets of U.S. consumers. Now, while some banks have either decreased or eliminated overdraft fees altogether, in large part due to increased scrutiny and oversight, banks still collected an estimated $7.7 billion in 2022 in overdraft and non-sufficient fund fees. Ms. Fraser, your bank eliminated overdraft fees last year, isn't that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Is it fair to say that Citi is still a profitable bank?
Yes, Senator.
Did overdraft fees upend your business model?
No, Senator, we work hard to protect our customers and make sure that they don't fall into overdraft.
Now, the rest of the banks here that have retail operations continue, to my knowledge, to charge overdraft fees. Mr. Moynihan, Mr. Scharf, Mr. Diamond, you're all aware that Black and Hispanic households disproportionately incur overdraft and NSF fees, correct? Do you know that? Yes or no? Okay, could you give me a verbal answer, please?
I believe so.
If that's your statistic, I don't have any reason to challenge it.
Same for me.
Well, the reality is that, again, it's amazing you don't know that. Study after study have shown that the answer is yes to that question. So I suggest you call Ms. Fraser after this hearing to figure out how you can still be able to eliminate the fees in its entirety and still run a profitable bank. Charging the fees is a choice, one that disproportionately harms Black and brown communities, and it's something that you could do that would change the course of events for a significant part of the consumer base. The lawsuit currently before the Supreme Court over the CFPB's funding structure has the potential to upend every rule, guidance, and order the CFPB has ever issued, tossing over a decade of consumer protection law out of the window. That's not just harmful for consumers, I think it's dangerous to the financial system. The CFPB doesn't just issue regulations, they also provide safe harbor provisions like the qualified mortgage rule, which protects mortgage lenders from certain lawsuits. Mr. Scharf, Mr. Moynihan, Mr. Diamond, Ms. Fraser, if you were to lose this safe harbor, would it impact your bank's mortgage lending?
I don't think it would make a difference. We did mortgage lending before this, we do it afterwards.
I think it completely depends on the actual detail in the ruling.
Sam, I'd like to know the specifics to draw a conclusion.
Same as my colleagues, I'd need to understand the specifics more.
Well, I'm saying if it would just if you would lose it, not if it's limited or what. If you would lose it totally, it seems to me pretty remarkable, based on previous testimony of how important the safe harbor provisions would be to banks' mortgage lending abilities, that you would suggest that it would have no effect whatsoever. We're already in the midst of an affordable housing crisis, and eliminating the CFPB and such a rule would have a disastrous impact on the mortgage market and make it harder for families to buy a home. Finally, the number of physical bank branches in the U.S. have been trending downward for some time. This has left more and more residents in so-called banking deserts, facing difficulties in carrying out basic financial tasks such as paying bills and depositing checks. A Philadelphia Reserve report found that bank closures during the pandemic resulted in the number of banking deserts in the 3rd District states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware rising from 48 to 63. Now, I understand part of this is mobile and online banking, but there are many who do not have the abilities to do that. What are some ways that we can ensure communities continue to have access to basic banking services?
Two things, Senator. I think if you look at the people who have big branch systems, we maintain approximately 30% of our branches. Mr. Scharf said earlier, was same for us in LMI neighborhoods. But importantly, one of the things that's gone on, and you mentioned, is we're up to 97% of our LMI customers use digital banking, which then is more convenient, more safe, and reaches them where they are. And so we manage that carefully to make sure we cover every market and make the calculations. You can see that in the published statistics. But if you look at what we do as a group of institutions, we maintain that presence, but we've driven the digital, and we've driven the types of accounts that are more appreciated. And that's why we're bringing 2 million people into the banking system that were unbanked a few years ago. It's largely these larger banks that have driven that.
Well, I'd close by simply saying I would commend to all of you that you look at how your practices affect particularly minority communities, including on this issue. You have a disproportionate effect, and there's something you can do about the largest growing parts of the American society that would be beneficial to you and beneficial to them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Menendez. Senator Kennedy.